What's up, guys? I'm James O'Neill. You're here with the O'Neill Ops YouTube channel, and this is the place where we break it down. We go into detail with the equipment that we use and how we use that equipment, application specific. Today we're going to be taking a look at cleaning the barrel on my custom Coyote Rifle. Let's break her down and get started. Before we get over to the process of the actual barrel cleaning procedure, what I'd highly recommend, guys, is taking a look at the barrel break-in procedure that we like to use. I posted that video up on our YouTube channel years ago. Once we get to the end of this video, I'll be sure to post a link to that video so that you can take a look at it for informational purposes. Once again, before we get started, the reason that we break in our barrels is because it coincides with this process. I'm gonna show you guys a little bit of video overlay. I have a bore scope, and I bought a factory rifle for a buddy. I ordered a factory rifle for a buddy, and I just wanted to bore scope it real quick. And there's a lot of tooling marks inside of that bore. And if you look at it, it's common sense what's gonna happen. When you shoot a projectile, that copper jacket is going to get grabbed. It's going to be left behind inside of those grooves, inside of those micro burrs. I mean, also the way I look at it, it's like your fingernails. You know, you have a wad of clay and you get dirt, you get clay under your fingernails if you scratch it. The same thing happens inside your bore. So when we clean that barrel, when we break that barrel in rather, what we're trying to do is make this process easier. We're not trying to make an inaccurate rifle accurate. We're not trying to make a rifle that will not shoot. The break-in procedure has nothing to do with that, in my opinion. It has everything to do with making your barrel cleaning procedure a lot quicker, a lot easier, a lot more efficient. And you'll see that as this video progresses. You don't break in your barrel, a lot of guys don't, and you'll see when you patch it out, you'll have a lot of copper fouling, a lot of blue streaks that they're plaguing. I mean, it's tough to get rid of them. You can patch out and continue to get those. A lot of guys don't think it matters, but for me, regarding the peace of mind, being able to really thoroughly clean the barrel and not have any copper reading in return, it's just a little bit better process in my opinion. And to be honest, I don't really get nearly as elaborate as I did in the barrel break-in procedure like I used to do. If you watch that video, I'll do the procedure about 5 times. I'll thoroughly clean the barrel. I'll essentially fire lap it. I'll thoroughly clean it again, fire lap it with another round. I'll do that 5 times. And from personal experience, what I've seen real quick is most of these custom barrels nowadays, guys, they're good. I mean, a lot of manufacturers actually hand lap them, and it essentially does aid in that barrel break-in procedure. It eliminates some of those micro burrs. It's a process. Like I said, there's a lot of discussion on it. Some guys don't think you need to do it. Some guys do. I don't get nearly as elaborate as I did, but the barrel cleaning procedure, we've kind of found a happy medium there. We usually do, to stay ahead of the curve, we usually do a thorough cleaning on the bore after about 50 to 75 rounds. And the way that I look at it is we have 3 shooters. If we each shoot 50 rounds during hunting season before we clean them, that's theoretically 150 dead coyotes. If we wait to 75 rounds, that's over 200. And we're not looking at a time span of days. We're looking at a time span of weeks, possibly even months. So it's not like we're having to go out of the ordinary to work for our rifles. they're still working for us at that point. But you want to stay ahead of the curve. You don't want to get to that point where you start second guessing yourself. Your rifle's dirty, you shoot a flyer, you miss, whatever. You want to stay ahead of it, and that's the way that I look at it. So with that said, guys, we've got it broken down. We're gonna vise her up, and I'm gonna show you guys the process that I use. It's gonna be quick. It should only take us about 10 minutes. And if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment section, and be sure to like it. Hopefully we can get 1,000 likes, guys. If we do in this video, we'll be sure to do a full video review of this rifle, the Marauder, that we had designed with Gunworks. Let's get started. All right, guys, I'm gonna give you a detailed item list that's going to, personally, I think it's gonna increase your workflow. It's gonna keep your workbench a lot cleaner, and it's just gonna make the whole overall process better, in my opinion. Now, I've worked with some of these manufacturers. We're not sponsored by anybody, to tell you the truth. I've had a lot of experience with a lot of different solvent manufacturers, Sweets, Hops 9, some Remington products. I've got some Bortec. I actually use a lot of Bortec products now. You can see this is a Tetra. I like this a lot. But I've used a numerous amount of products, guys, and I just want to make sure and let you guys, this is just some of the stuff that I like, that I think works really well for us. You don't necessarily have to use the same stuff that we do, but I would highly recommend some of the hardware that I'm going to be showing you here that you invest your money in, because it's not only going to save you time, but it's going to be easier on your equipment. For example, the rod that I'm going to be using is a Bortec rod. It's caliber specific. So this is a 224 caliber rod. I've got a 6.5 over there, a 30 cal, a 7mm, a 22 long rifle rod, basically a 338 cal rod, basically a rod for all of my rifles. And this is a epoxy coated, I would say, rod. It's not a brass or a steel rod like you would have seen your dad or your grandpa use. This is a really nice rod. It's got a bearing handle, ball bearing handle, so that when you push it and you pull it, the patch and or the brush stays inside of those lands and grooves, and it rotates with those. You're not going against that rotation. One of the nice features, and I'm not trying to sell anything, that I found with Bortec products is they have proof positive jags and proof positive brushes. And I've been through copper jags, copper brushes, and what you're doing once you get into this, guys, the whole purpose of solvent is to what? It's to break down copper, it's to break down brass. And you start brushing with a brass brush, or you start patching out with a copper jag with your patch over the top of it, the first thing that you do is you get blue fouling, you get a blue copper reading on your patch. They don't do that. It eliminates that process. You're not getting any kind of false reading, and it's a lot better peace of mind, in my opinion. You patch out, if there's any copper reading on it, it's from your bore. It's not from your hardware. Same thing goes with the brush. Like I said, I use a nylon brush. I don't use brass anymore. I just use strictly nylon. And then, like I said, I've got the proof positive caliber specific jag. I'll show you guys how to do that. I've got caliber specific patches, and then we have some overbore patches that I will use basically to mop up the chamber once we get done, and I'll kind of explain that to you. We of course have the main solvent and then a bore conditioner when we finish up. A couple of the items that you don't necessarily need, but like I said, I'd highly recommend it, is, let's just go with this. This is a muzzle mate. You push it over, just clamps on the end of your barrel, on the end of your muzzle, because when you push your patch, you pull it through, it drops in there. It's not dropping on your table. The same thing when you're pushing your rod with your nylon brush, your solvent sprays out all over. This keeps all of that contained. Like I said, it keeps your workflow, your workplace a lot cleaner, and it's just a lot easier to use. The this is really important too, guys. It's a rod guide. And if you think about it, it keeps your rod parallel to, it just keeps it lined up to your bore. And they basically make one rod guide for a variety of calibers. For example, this is a 17 to 25 cal, so it'll work on this 22-250 easy. It's got an adjustable piece here. You just slide it in. And note on this too, it's got kind of a rubber funnel here in a way. It just squeezes right up into your chamber. You can push it up into the throat, and then this handle, it locks into your bolt, and you can hand tighten it down. You just want to have this catch pan basically horizontal with the floor, because you know you don't want to have your solvent dropping all over. Once you get this installed, basically everything's lined up. I kind of have this rifle in my vise angled slightly down so that we do get a little bit of flow of the solvents down into that muzzle mate. Then you don't have to have a vise like this on your table, guys. I do have a Tipton gun vise that I use, just a cheaper vise that you can move around to a table or a different workbench if you want to have the accessibility of basically mobility. Another item that you don't have to have, but I use, is I've got a couple of rags. Usually what I do is I put one rag, I kind of unfold it, and I stick it underneath the tang of my rifle, just because a lot of times I get over excessive with the solvent in this pan. This catch pan helps a lot, but a lot of times, you know, you have a little bit extra here that may overflow, or you may lose it out of the nozzle of your solvent container. This will catch it, and it's really nice. This other rag that I use, once I get done patching this, running a wet patch, I use this to clean my rod. The first step that I do is I'm essentially, like I said, in the barrel break-in procedure that I do, I'm washing the bore. Okay, I'm not starting with a brush. I'm starting with a very liberally soaked patch of Vortec Eliminator. I'm washing anything that could be potentially aggressive in that barrel out the muzzle. So plain and simple, run a wet patch, get it started here. You get it right over the oil pan. Soak it up, and that patch is soaked. And you're gonna see a lot of carbon residue come out. It's just gonna be black. That's the first pass. And push it out. And I'll pull this off. And you know what? This isn't bad at all. We have a little bit of blue residue, but that's fairly clean. And I'll pull it out. You can see the rod's shiny. It's got a lot of solvent on it still. That's what I use this rag for. I just wipe it off nice and clean so my rod's clean. And then I do another one. I run another solid wet patch, soaked wet patch, just to wash out the bore. I'm still jacked from lifting. My hands are kind of shaking. That's liberally soaked as well. There's a lot of solvent on that. And that one's, I'll let you show it here. It's even a little bit bluer, just a skosh of a tint of blue. Okay, this particular barrel, guys, this is a rock barrel, a Rock Creek barrel, high-end barrel. And I broke it in. I just did my 5-shot procedure. Like I said, check out the barrel break-in procedure that I use. And that's basically how I do it. I did 5 shots of fire lapping, thorough cleaning in between. And this barrel was a phenomenal barrel. I mean, it was already basically free. I want to say it only took me actually about 3 rounds. And I was getting minimal to no copper fouling at all when I was patching out. Okay, once I have the 2 wet patches pushed, essentially washing out that bore, I'll run a dry patch. It doesn't, I don't hurry You know, sometimes I even let it sit a little bit. If I have a significant amount of rounds down it, I'll let it sit a little bit, kind of let that solvent do its work. But in this case, it looks good considering. So I'll just push a dry patch, and that bore should basically be clean of any solvent. Now is the transition from the jag to the brush. I'll pull the jag off. That's a jag, proof positive jag, and I'll put the proof positive nylon brush on. And here's the steps that I take. I look at it in terms of lifting almost reps and sets. So that's, for the purpose of this video, this rifle has 50 rounds down it. All right, we've got 50 rounds down this barrel. I do 5 sets of 10 reps. Basically, the way that I look at it, for every round that I put down it, I brush it down and brush it back. And I do that in sets of 10. So I'll do 5 sets of 10 reps, which is gonna be 50 passes, but there's a couple steps in between. I don't wanna confuse you, but here's how easy it is. So you got the brush. Once again, be liberal with the solvent, soak that brush. That's the first set. So I have 4 more of those because I shot this rifle 50 rounds, and I'll do that. I'll do 10 reps with 5 sets. After I do 10 reps, basically what I do is I'll pull the brush again, kind of let that solvent do its work. I don't let it sit too long. And then I'll swap to the jag. There's a little bit of swap in here, but it does not take long at all. Got a patch. We've got the solvent doing its work. If your rifle's really dirty, you can wait a couple minutes. If it's not, you can get started. I'll just hammer this through real quick, and I'll show you what the patch looks like. And it's not bad. I mean, there's no blue streaks. We're giving the solvent a little bit of time to do what it's supposed to do. Now, once again, that bore is clean of solvent. It's dry. Now I go ahead and do it again with my brush. Take the jag off and repeat. This whole process, I mean, it won't take, once you get it down, you know, if I was doing this without recording it for you guys, I'd have this done in probably less than 10 minutes. Soak the brush. I'll wipe this rod off again because you can see the solvent on it. And one of the things too I like about Bortec is their products aren't, I mean, they do work, they do awesome work, but they're not as, I don't think they're as nasty as some of the other stuff that I've used in the past. Same thing, you got a patch, put the jag on, solvent's doing work. If you want to let it set, you can. In this case, I'm not going to, just because of the purpose of time. Push a patch, we'll take a look at it again, and it's getting, I mean, it's getting better, which it wasn't bad in the first place. Repeat. You know, we're almost halfway done already. That's basically how I do it, guys. I mean, there's no, some guys might think it's overbore, overkill, etc. This is a process that works really good for me. You don't have to put a whole lot of solvent on it if you don't want to. You don't have to do it exactly how I do it. Like I said, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. You can do a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different opinions on it. This is just something that has worked for us, and it's something that I do on all my rifles. Let's just finish this up here real quick. You're gonna want a rod guide. You guys are gonna want that, because if you don't have it, you're making unnecessary contact with that rod in the throat and potentially on the muzzle end. I mean, this doesn't necessarily keep this rod true all the way through to the muzzle, but fact of the matter is you're doing unnecessary damage to your throat without a rod guide. It's a good investment. I actually have about a half a dozen of those rod guides for numerous rifles, for my ARs, my AR-10s, all of my bolt guns, and some extras just in case. So what we're gonna do is run one more patch. Let's say that I did all, or we've already done 30 passes, we've already done 3 sets of 10. All we really need to do is 2 more. But this rifle, it's not dirty. You can tell it's not dirty. I'm not getting any blue streaks of copper. Everything's going good. So what I'm gonna do is, let's just say, for example, that was my last set of 10 reps. Here's how I finish it up. I've got my jag put back on, and I have a patch. This patch is not wetted down. There's no solvent on it, dry patch. I will run 2 patches. I'll run 2 dry patches, just for the purpose of making sure I have every bit of this Vortec eliminator out before I run any kind of bore conditioner. I just, there is concoctions that are not good for your barrel, and it just takes that out of the equation. I don't want to have any kind of trace of solvent in my bore while or if I apply my my bore conditioner. So that's got, it looks good. I don't have any blue streaks. I mean, there's a slight blue tone to that patch, but nothing at all that I'm worried about. That's just normal. Now, 2 dry patches, like I said, just to make sure and get any of that extra solvent out of that bore. And then what I do, make sure, wipe this off one more time. Then what I do is I use a bore conditioner, which is, it's more of an oil-based solvent. Like, I've even used Hops 9 as a bore conditioner. And a lot of guys will use a bore conditioner for the purpose of storage. This bore is what I would call dry right now. There's no solvent in it. It's clean. It's ready to go. If you're gonna go shoot right now, you know, you don't necessarily need to do this, and a lot of guys don't even believe in conditioning the bore at all. But I will run a bore conditioner just because it's something that I'm used to, and I'll just continue to do it because I have the solvent in it and it works for me. So I've got Tetra here. Like I said, I've used Hops 9 because it's a real mild solvent. I have no problem leaving Hops 9 in the barrel, you know, running a nicely coated wet patch down it. If you're gonna store it in the safe, just make sure that whenever you decide to pull that rifle out, you probably want to run a patch or 2 just to get that solvent out of your bore. This Tetra is really good. I'll kind of show you guys how I explain how it works. It's a thicker oil-based, not even a solvent, more of an oil is what I would say. And I'm pretty deliberate on this too. I kind of liberally apply that. Soak that patch up. Takes a little bit to soak into that patch. But when you run your last 2 patches to just kind of dry that bore out, get all that solvent out, it kind of grabs. You can kind of feel it grabbing down that bore just because it's clean. When you put that Tetra on it and you let it soak into that patch and you run this final patch through of oil, I'll run one more through just to kind of clean it up. It feels just like silk. It feels just like glass going through there. You start it, and it's just smooth. You can just feel that coating. There's a little grab at the end, but just, it's really smooth. You can feel that oil just working. And if you're gonna store your rifle, leave it. Just remember that you have a coat of that in there before you shoot it. Make sure and polish it off. But what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go shoot. So we're going to run 2 patches just to get that out. Just to get any of that out. We've still got a oil. See this one's even smoother all the way, just like glass. So the bore is clean, it's ready to go. Quick, easy, simple process, except for one more thing. We have all of our patches here. If I could, I might, you know what I'm gonna do at the end of this video, I'll just kind of show these guys. I might lay them out on a table, just kind of show you how they progressed. What you'll do here, you'll remove your rod guide. That's out, but you want to assume that some of that solvent got past your rubber funnel, your rubber end here, and is in your chamber. Just assume that, because it's better to be safe than sorry. So I've got my chamber brush and I have my chamber rod. I have some 30 cal, actually these are 338 cal patches. They're a little bit bigger patches. And all I do is roll it up, because this is a 30 caliber chamber brush and it's gonna fit tight up in that 22-250 chamber. I'll just push it up there and I can feel that, I can hear that patch squeaking and making contact. You can just hear it squeaking, and I'll pull it out and see there is a little bit of oil right there. And I'll do that a couple times just to make sure that it's all cleaned out. And that, like I said, there's no displacement for that. If you leave that in your chamber, you will have high pressure and it can be dangerous. So make sure that once you get done cleaning, I've done it before. It's not smart. Just take the time, get it out of there so you don't have any issues. I've got some nasty ejector swipe from not getting my chamber completely clean. Don't do it. See that's pretty damn good. There's no oil there. There's a little bit of carbon, but there's no oil. Now, I can. And once we get all that pulled, we've got the chamber basically soaked up. We've got all that, any oil residue inside the chamber out. Just take the rag that we use to clean that rod off and clean anything up around your muzzle, around your threads, around your crown. You know, if you guys like this video and you want to see more detailed info on kind of how we do a thorough cleaning of the whole rifle, be sure to like and comment below, because we will break this down. We'll take the whole barreled action out. We'll do a thorough cleaning of the trigger, how we do it. We'll disassemble the bolt and show you guys how we clean the bolt. We've done a lot of stuff from bedding the scope base to lapping the rings to leveling the optic. We've done a lot of stuff, guys, regarding accurizing your rifle. We could do a lot more detailed videos on these rifles if you're interested. And these are just informational. So, you know, it's getting down to the time. It's hunting season. Guys are getting amped up. They're getting ready to go. We need to be putting more content out there. I know that. I'm actually kind of strapped right now because I need to be scouting for an elk hunter here. I got a bull guy, the guy with the bull tag, coming in this week, and I've got to get some nailed down. We've got this whole rifle set up. We'll unvise it. Just so you guys know, this rifle is in plastic jaws. I've got some, so it's not gonna damage, and I don't care if it does damage it. We beat the hell out of our rifles anyway, but just so you guys know, the bore is crystal clear. We can assemble this rifle and basically go foul it up, shoot a group at 110, and she's ready to go kill some coyotes for hunting season this year. Like I said, guys, if we can get 1,000 likes on this video, we'll do a detailed review on this rifle. It was kind of in the plans, but we've got about half a dozen custom built coyote rifles that we've done that we have not reviewed that I'd like to go over for you guys. So let's get this thing put back together. The next video that we have in line for you guys is going to be reloading for the 22-250. There is a detailed, a very meticulous, what I say, a meticulous concoction of reloading components that custom rifles like this like to shoot. and we're gonna show you guys how you get your rifle, your custom rifle, your factory rifle, whatever rifle you shoot, to shoot better groups by reloading, through reloading. That's it. Once again, guys, I'm James O'Neill. You're here with O'Neill Ops, and this has been an informational review from the loadout room with equipment that is designed for precision hunting. O'Neill Ops, we're out.